The first thing I learned about sleeping with powerful men is that you don't really sleep afterward. The second, you wake up in a stranger's bed only to realize you've traded your freedom for his desire. That was exactly what happened to me the night I let my guard down in Manhattan. I should have known better. Shalvi stayed away from Alexander Reed. The kind of man who could buy skyscrapers with pocket change and ruin lives with a single phone call. But desire makes fools of us all. And I had been the perfect fool. Now, sitting half-dressed on the leather couch of his penthouse, I could feel his gaze burning into me. It wasn't lust anymore. It was something darker. Something that made my chest tighten in ways I didn't want to understand. "You're not leaving," Alexander said, his voice low and final. The kind of tone men use when they're used to getting exactly what they want. I laughed bitterly, though my throat was dry. What is this? Some twisted hostage game. You got what you wanted. Let me go. But he didn't move. Instead, he stepped closer, his suit jacket falling open, his eyes piercing into me as if he could see every secret I had tried to bury. "You think this was just about the night? About your body?" His hand brushed my chin, forcing my eyes up to his. "You're hiding something, Noah. And I'm not letting you run until I know what it is." And there it was, the dangerous line we had crossed. Because the truth was, I was hiding something. Something that could ruin me. Something that could ruin him. And the way he looked at me, with that strange mix of obsession and longing, I knew he wasn't going to stop until he ripped me open. The irony. A part of me didn't want him to stop. The city outside roared with midnight life. But in here, silence pressed down like a weight. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to put space between us. But Alexander followed. He was taller, broader, radiating a kind of energy that felt impossible to resist. "You don't know me," I whispered, though it sounded weak even to my own ears. "Then let me," he countered. And for the first time, his voice wasn't demanding, it was pleading. It should have been easy to hate him. A ruthless man who dealt in deals, power, and control, now trying to cage me in his golden tower. But then there were those moments, the flicker in his eyes when he thought I wasn't watching. The way his hand lingered as if afraid I might disappear. It wasn't just possession. It was fear. Fear of losing something he didn't even understand yet. And God help me, I understood it. Because I was afraid too. The night stretched on. And I found myself remembering the first time I saw him. A charity gala, filled with flashing lights and champagne laughter. He stood by the balcony, bored with the crowd. His gaze locked on the city as if it belonged to him. He noticed me watching, and instead of brushing me off like everyone else, he smiled. Just one smile, but it was enough to drag me into his orbit. I told myself it was harmless. One dance, one drink, one reckless kiss in the shadows. But one became many, and suddenly I was sneaking into his world. A place of marble floors and whispered promises. Of danger wrapped in silk sheets. Now I was paying the price. "Why me?" I asked suddenly, the question clawing out of me before I could stop it. "You could have anyone. Men, women, whoever you want. Why me?" He froze. For once, Alexander Reed, the untouchable billionaire, didn't have an answer ready. He raked a hand through his hair, his jaw tense. "Because when you look at me, Noah, you don't see the monster they all see. You make me feel human." The words hit harder than I expected. Because he was right. I had seen something in him that night at the gala, something lonely, raw, and unguarded. And maybe that's why I had stayed. Why I kept coming back even when I knew better. But I couldn't let him know my secret. If he found out what I had done, who I truly was beneath the name and the lies, he would never forgive me. Or worse, he would use it against me. He reached for me then, his hand brushing mine, and I should have pulled away. Instead, I let his fingers thread through mine. It was dangerous, reckless, like playing with fire while already covered in gasoline. Stay, he whispered, and the vulnerability in that single word shattered me. Not because I'm forcing you. Not because you're afraid. Stay because you want to. I closed my eyes, feeling his warmth seep into me, melting the walls I had built. I wanted to tell him the truth, to confess everything I had buried. But the truth was a weapon, and I wasn't sure if he'd use it to protect me or destroy me. Still, for the first time in years, I wanted to believe, and that belief terrified me more than any secret ever could. The night didn't end with chains or threats. It ended with silence, with me lying in his arms as the city lights bled into dawn. His hand rested on my chest as if to anchor me there, as if letting go meant losing me forever. But I knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous. Because Alexander Reed wasn't just the man who had claimed me. He was the man who had awakened the truth I had spent my life running from. And once awakened, some secrets refused to sleep again. The dawn came far too soon, spilling soft light through the glass walls of Alexander's penthouse. I should have slipped out, disappeared before he stirred. But my body refused to move. His arm was heavy around me, his breath warm against my shoulder, as if he'd been afraid I might vanish in the night. And maybe I should have, because every second I stayed meant another second closer to the truth unraveling. By the time his eyes opened, those steel-gray eyes that saw too much I already knew, escape was no longer an option. "Good morning," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep. I swallowed hard, forcing a smile. "Morning." He studied me like I was a puzzle he refused to give up on. "You dreamed," he said quietly. "I could feel you shaking." The lie rose to my lips, but I bit it back. He would know. Somehow, he always knew when I lied. So I said nothing. But silence only sharpened his suspicion. His hand cupped my jaw, turning my face toward his. "Noah, what are you hiding from me?" I flinched. The truth trembled inside me like a caged animal, desperate to claw its way out. But telling him meant pulling the pin on a grenade neither of us could survive. "I can't," I whispered. His eyes softened. "Then let me carry it with you." It was almost enough to break me. Almost. That afternoon, Alexander vanished into a board meeting downtown, leaving me alone in his penthouse. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I wandered through the vast silence like a prisoner who had forgotten what freedom meant. On his desk, a file lay open, my name typed neatly on the cover. My chest constricted. My hands trembled as I flipped it open. And there it was. Everything I had fought to bury. My past. My lies. The scandal that had driven me to New York. Running from the shadows of a small town that would never forgive me. The secret wasn't just mine. It was my brother's. His debts. His betrayal. The night I had covered for him when things spiraled out of control. Blood on my hands. Not mine, but close enough. Alexander knew. He knew all of it. My knees buckled, and I sank into his chair, the weight of it crushing me. So this was why he kept me here. Not out of love. Not out of desire. But leverage. When the door opened hours later, I couldn't even look at him. You went through it, Alexander said flatly. I laughed bitterly, my voice hoarse. You already knew. You've always known. Was this your plan all along? Trap me here, make me fall into your bed, and then hold my past over my head. For a moment, I saw something break in his expression. He came closer, his jaw tight, his eyes desperate. That file, I had it pulled because I needed to understand you, Noah. Because I couldn't stop thinking about why you ran. But I swear, I never wanted to use it against you. Then why keep me here? I demanded, tears stinging my eyes. Why lock me in your world like some pet you can't let go of? His voice cracked. Because I've lost everything else that mattered. And I can't lose you too. The silence that followed was unbearable. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to scream, to tear down every wall he had built between us. But instead, I found myself whispering the words I had never dared to say. You make me feel like I don't have to keep running. His eyes closed as if the weight of that confession was too much. And when he kissed me, it wasn't possession, it was surrender. The days that followed blurred into something fragile, dangerous, and impossibly tender. We moved around each other carefully, like men afraid of waking a sleeping beast. His hand brushing mine at breakfast, my laughter breaking through his silence at night. But the outside world wasn't blind. Whispers started. A journalist snapped our photo leaving his building. The danger that had haunted me from my past now had teeth, threatening to shred the fragile thing we had built. One night, as rain lashed against the windows, Alexander came to me, his face pale. His tie loosened like he had been clawing at his own throat. They know, he said simply. My blood turned to ice. Then it's over, I whispered. You can't afford this. Not me. Not my past. Walk away, Alexander. Pretend none of this ever happened. But he shook his head, his hands gripping my shoulders with desperate strength. No. I'd rather burn it all down than lose you. I stared at him, my chest aching. You don't mean that. He pressed his forehead against mine, his breath ragged. I've spent my life building walls made of glass and steel, Noah. And none of it matters if you're not in it with me. The storm outside raged, and so did the one inside me. I had spent years believing love was a luxury I couldn't afford, that my past would always chase me, dragging me down. But here he was, this powerful, ruthless man, willing to risk everything just to hold me. And maybe, just maybe, I was ready to stop running. The scandal broke in the press, just as we feared. My name splashed across headlines. Whispers of crime, deaths, and shadows. For days, felt like drowning. Paparazzi at the gates. Reporters clawing at the truth. But through it all, Alexander never let go of my hand. At boardrooms, at dinners, even when his advisors begged him to cut ties, he stood firm. This is the man I love, he said to the cameras one morning, his voice steady, his gaze unwavering. And no past his or mine will change that. The world gasped. Some mocked. Some cursed. But many listened. And for the first time, the weight on my chest began to lift. Months later, I stood with him on that same balcony where we had first crossed paths. The city sprawled out before us, chaotic and alive. His arm slipped around my waist, pulling me close. "Do you regret it?" he asked softly. I shook my head, smiling through the tears that threatened to fall. "Not when it brought me here. Not when it brought me to you." He kissed me then, slow and certain, as if sealing a promise neither of us could break. And for the first time in years, I wasn't running. I wasn't hiding. I was home. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.